So hello and welcome. I'm Frederick Dunn and this is The Way to Bee. Today is April the 22nd of 2026 and you guessed it, there are dandelions blooming in the landscape and the bees are ramping up their activity, getting nectar and pollen, and the colonies are about to expand. So if you stick with me on this video, I'm going to show you at least 2 colonies and how to set them up to attract swarms and at least create a space where if I collect a swarm soon, and I will, I'll be able to hive the swarms. So we're looking at colonies here in the apiary. We have 2 apiaries here, upper and lower. We went into winter with 43 colonies. We have 39 live colonies. That means 4 died. So anyway, looking at this one, we did a lot of single brood box wintering this year and had great success with it. So that's very interesting. And that's what we're looking at here. I'm just examining the apiary overall because before we get into a hive or anything like that, and before we can assess whether or not we think swarming is about to happen, we need to see what the activity is. And because the bees are not all gathering on the front of their hives and things like that, I think we've got some time, and that's good news. Because I'm going to show you step by step how to set up a new hive for swarms, and also how to set up a dead out and turn that into a swarm collection box also. I don't set up swarm traps anymore out in the environment. I've found that just preparing boxes inside my own apiary and having them ready to receive new occupants is all I've needed to do. And we've been keeping bees here on this property since 2006. Now we've got some of these Bee Smart Designs robbing screens that were on in the fall when robbing was at a high point. And now we're going to get them off. And you can see that the bees have dirtied up the front of this one pretty good. And this entrance on this flow hive single box here faces to the east. So we're just going to pull the pins out here, get this off the front, and give the bees full access to the hive. So what is the brown stuff on the front? Well, those are bees that held it too long, and as soon as they came out, they eliminated all over the front of their own hive and made it dirty. So the colony's actually doing okay. Everything's fine, but they're not brimming at the seams to where we have to worry about them swarming. So I think we're actually ahead of the game, but then of course every year we feel like we're ahead of the game. So without that robbing screen on the front, this is a 3/8" high entrance that goes the full width of the hive, and that is a screened bottom board with a removable tray underneath. And this went through winter as a single brood 10-frame box. That was it. Did just fine, right along with all the others that we shifted into single brood management boxes. Now here's one that we did the standard setup with, the deep brood box, 10 frames, and the medium super. They got through winter fine, and we also have this robbing screen on the front. And I'm going to take that off, but wouldn't you know it, I put actual screws in this one instead of just using the pins. So robbing risk is at a high point when there's a dearth and when there are a lot of bees to take advantage of each other. And that happens near the end of the year around here. And by around here, I mean the northeastern part of the United States, the northwestern part of the state of Pennsylvania. So, and there's a screw, of course, right here in the middle. I have to take that out, and then I'm going to get all these robbing screens off because with the nectar flow beginning, we are going to not need these. The bees are not aggressive towards other colonies. And look, we've got lots of pollen that fell off on the landing board behind that robbing screen. And there's a couple of dead bees that the undertakers dragged out to the front, waiting for the rest of the bees to haul them away from the hive. When pollen falls on the landing board like that, they don't reuse it. You do see the bees licking at it, and that's because there's nectar and they're kind of sweet. Nectar is used to hold them together. Here's my problem child here, the 2 queen or 2 colony keepers hive system going great guns. And now we have the Bearsville Bees Long Langstroth insulated hive, which I sat out here last fall and left it over winter because I didn't want it to smell like a brand new hive. And I highly recommend you check out their stuff. These are very well made. There are holes all the way down the line so you can decide where you want your entrance to be. And this is the back side, or the side that we tend the bees from, so opposite the entrance. And you can see the cover boards here on the end. Those have feeder options. We also have one cover board that has a nice big hole for this rapid round style feeder. Rapid round feeders are pretty good. You can feed solids or liquids with them, and you can see that was occupying an empty space. And when I get in here, I find a bunch of old frames that really is not very desirable even to the bees. But I decided to plop them in there last fall just as placeholders, just in case some random swarm decided to move in. They did not. So we're going to get rid of these. And by get rid of, I just mean out of this hive. I'm not getting rid of them. We're going to actually put them in very hot water, and we're going to clean them off and then put them back in service after we get a nice thin coat of beeswax on them. Here's the follower board. This thing is really nice. Tight tolerances, by the way. Tip of the hat there to Bearsville Bees and his cabinetry skills. This hive is very well made. So I'm going to show you something else. We're going to put some different frames in here, and this will be, I've had these frames out in the bee yard last year, but we're going to put more in this year, and we're going to follow along. So this is for comb honey, and that goes in a medium box, so that's not what we're doing here, but I got these with my name on them. If anybody steals your stuff and your name is embossed on the back of every single frame in your hive, good luck trying to hide that. So 21st Bee makes these things. These are the heaviest bee frames I've ever found. They could also handle high temperature. So when it comes to clean them off, if you had them in as brood frames, for example, they can take a lot of hotter temps and not damage the plastic. And then once they're all neat and clean, you can re-wax them. Plus they have these nifty holes in them. What's the point of that? Well, particularly if you put them in a horizontal hive, which is what we're going to do here, it allows the bees to move right through the center of the frames. If you have plastic foundation, bees can't make holes through that, so the holes have to already exist. And this is the first company to actually do this in their standard molds. So these are 5.4 millimeter cells, worker cells. They also have drone frames, which I do have, and they have some options that are pretty decent. So these are good to go. And my name is on the back of each one. I forget what the max number of letters you can have, but it's pretty generous. You can have your whole name, your phone number, whatever you need to make sure that people understand these are your frames. And look at the waxing. It's done pretty nice. It's all over everything. Front, back, top, bottom. Every part of the surface is covered in beeswax. So here it is. Now the standard size that we want to use, 10 deep frames. Statistically, that is the space that is most likely to attract a swarm. I realize that all these frames are brand new. They don't have any special scent that's going to draw a scout in to check it out. So we're going to have to do something about that, and I'm going to demonstrate that to you later. Also, I think most of you can probably guess what I'm going to do to attract a swarm or scouts for a swarm to inspect the space. Now, look at the space we have beyond the following board. We have space to put more frames in there, because why do you want to have to run back to wherever your storage shed is to get more frames as the colony grows? All you have to do is move the follower board over and move frames from the right side of the follower board there to the left. I'm just showing you the rapid round here. It is set up for liquid. Oftentimes when you set up a swarm, if you want to get them drawing comb and keep them drawing comb, you're going to want to put 1-to-1 sugar syrup in there and get them really going. So they will draw out the comb on these brand new frames really well. Now while I'm doing this, I happen to look across the bee yard and I missed something. One of the hives was blown over by a storm. Isn't that nice? Bricks on the ground, hives pulled apart. And it looks like some opportunistic feeder, I'm going to guess a skunk, tore into this thing. Insult to injury, there were also mice in the top underneath that insulated cover. And good news though, this was already a dead out. So I don't have to kick myself for being a bad beekeeper and not noticing this or not strapping it down well. It's basically empty. There are a bunch of dead bees in it, so we're going to clean it up, and I'm going to show you how to set it up as a new swarm hive. So polystyrene chewed all over the place. I'm suspecting a skunk. Raccoons rarely do that. Skunks do, and I think it was already on the ground from the storm. I don't think it knocked it over because skunks don't have that ability. Raccoons could certainly do it, but no raccoons showed up on any of my motion-activated cameras. So let's look inside the box. This comb is actually in pretty darn good shape, and it's only drawn out on one side there. You might guess that I'm hunting out a couple of combs that I'm going to carry over there and put them in the Bearsville Bees Long Langstroth Hive. Look at that. Mouse chewed the frame. Isn't that great? I could just throw it away, but instead I'm going to keep it here. Use it in the brood box. Brood frames don't have to hold up to the same kind of punishment that honey super frames do. So I'm going to leave it in there. Of course, we're going to clean it up. We're going to scrape off all the edges. I'm going to show you what it needs to look like to make it appealing to scouts that are looking for a place to live before they swarm out. So we pulled 3 of these frames out, and we're going to put 3 frames in with drawn comb. So there you go. It's all cleaned up. You should not have any dead bees. There should not be capped honey. There should not be pollen or bee bread in these frames because we don't want robbers. We don't want wax moths. We want bees. So it's pretty decent. Ready to go. You see where the mouse or raccoon or whatever it was chewed the beeswax right off of the face of that. So the other thing is pay attention to the condition of the frames. Look at this one. It's got lots of propolis all around it. If you go to put that in, it could cause you problems later. So I want you to pause and notice that this is going to give you trouble. We want to scrape all this propolis off. And we want to scrape it off the top. We want to scrape the ends, the bottom, the shoulders of the frame, and get it all off of there because it could impact how well it's going to be compatible with other frames going forward. Better keeping through education. I just want to give a quick shout out here to the Chester County Beekeepers Association who gave me this really nice custom hive tool. And they have my name on it, which means the supervisor can't steal it and add it to his oversized collection of stolen hive tools. It's a very good one. Anyway, so it's all scraped up here. All clean. Sorry I robbed you of seeing me expertly scrape away propolis from this frame. But this is really the finished product. This is what we want to see. All the propolis scraped off. You don't have to scrape wood away, but you should get it down to where it matches all the standard dimensions of a Langstroth deep frame. And that includes the bottom. See that? Nice and clean. This thing is going to last for a very long time. And remember, these first 10 frames are more than likely just going to be for brood anyway. But now that we have this drawn comb in here, we've got a very enticing environment for a scout bee to check things out. But we're also going to raise the odds a little bit. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to use. We're going to put all these cover boards back on, but quick trip to the refrigerator. You guessed it, Swarm Commander. Now these little spray bottles are many years old. I know they have a shelf life. I know you're supposed to get new and fresh ones, but you know what? They continue to work, so I continue to use them. It does not take much. And I'm going to show you how I put it in this hive because I want scouts to check it out. And of course, I want a swarm of bees to move into this hive so we can load it up for this year. I'm just going to spritz the interior of one of these cover boards. That's it. No more than that. Don't overdo it. If you spray too much Swarm Commander in a space that you want bees to occupy, they will avoid it. If it smells strong to you, it smells really strong to scout bees that have a much better sense of smell than we do. So if I need to feed sugar syrup, I can do it right there, right over that follower board because part of it is exposed to the frame below. Now it's all set. All the cover boards are in place. And this just gives you what the parameters are today. 66 degrees Fahrenheit, nice and sunny, pretty gusty wind-wise. So 5.8 miles per hour steady, 11.6 mile per hour gusts. And we're good to go. We're ahead of the game. I always feel like that. These are the dead bees we scraped out of the box of the hive that was the dead out. All the stuff that's in the bottom, please don't leave that in there. Scrape everything out. Remove every dead bee. Scrape the surfaces down. Some people, even after you clean this box out, will take a propane torch and they'll scorch the interior surfaces. I don't personally do that, but I understand why some do. We also want to scrape out the rabbit joints there on the ends, and again we want to scrape every frame that's going in here to make it as clean and clean fitting as possible. So here it is. I've scraped all these edges. See how the tops of the box are nice and clean, rabbit joints cleaned out. That style of hive tool, by the way, which is the Kent Williams hive tool, I don't know if you're aware of that, works very well. for scraping out interiors and keeping your boxes in good shape. So make it as clean as you can. There's no reason to sanitize it or anything like that. There was no evidence of brood disease and so on. I suspect that they simply lost their queen and couldn't keep up. The reason I think that is that in one of the frames I found very tiny drone brood partially emerged, which means they were a ditch effort trying to save their genetics. So lost queen is my best guess. The propolis bits and things like that that are laying around in here are your #1 swarm lure, by the way. That's the stuff right there. So when scouts check this out, and by the way, as soon as I put this all back together, scouts were checking it out. So I think this box has a high potential for being occupied by a swarm on its own. And remember, 10 deep frames is pretty much the standard, so we're going to do 5/5 deep frames on this Nucleus hive box. So we've got 5 down below, setting up the upper box. Remember, we only have 2 frames now because we pulled 3 of them and put them over in that Long Langstroth hive. What do you think I'm going to use to fill the extra space with up here? Well, I think you can make a pretty good guess that we're going to be installing some 21st bee frames up in here. So we're going to, of course, do worker cell size, and there they are, magically, right in the top box, and my name is on them. So, there you go. It's all clean, good to go. I'm going to put a feeder on top of this. I'm going to make sure the feeder's nice and clean. No dead bees, remember. Dead bees, leftover brood, things like that, are deterrent to having a swarm occupy a box. So this is the nice feeders that we put on here. They come from Apiary. You can put them on Nucleus hives. They handle liquids or solids. And I just happen to have in the storage area another polystyrene cover. This one has Reflectix on the outside. I just want to see how well this holds up. If you haven't noticed, it reflects sunlight too. So reflects heat if you were in a hot environment. And we put the brakes on. I did not strap it down with a shipping strap. I probably should go the extra yard and do that, although we don't have any big storms on the horizon. So this hive is ready to go. So either way, a swarm moves in on its own, or I catch a swarm and have a space to move it into. That is hive number 44 over there and its neighbors. They are doing really well. So now before we wrap up the video, quick look in the environment. I did drop some Ladino clover seed out here, and that was just 3 days ago. It rained last night, and those little seeds already have the little root tip coming out. This yellow stuff is wintercress. I don't see the bees on it very often, but I thought I would just show you what's in the environment here a little bit. The big draw out in my woodland areas here is the wild apples, and this is more of the clover, and you can see that it's already cracked open. It's nice and damp here. I frost seeded this, so right on time, and look at the bees just walking over there. Everything that's damp, the bees love to get their water there. There is a pond here too. This time of year, you need to be thinking about a constant, dependable, predictable source of fresh water for your bees. Let's keep them out of our neighbors' pools. And here are the apple trees. They are buzzing with bees right now, and not just the honeybees, bumblebees, and a lot of other species. So I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. I hope that if you have dead outs, you're going to clean them out in time so that they'll be able to be occupied by swarms that you install or that just volunteer to move it on their own. I'm Frederick Dunn, and this has been The Way to Bee.